Have you ever heard whispers in the forest during autumn? The wind rustles through the trees, but what hides in the shadows of Willow Brook is far from ordinary. Tonight, you will witness something no one dares to see, and every moment of calm could turn into a nightmare you never expected. The wind whispered through the golden leaves. A chill settled over Willow Brook, colder than usual for October. The water reflected the fiery reds and oranges of the trees. Mara walked slowly along the bank, her boots sinking slightly into the damp soil. The scent of wet earth and decaying leaves filled the air. She shivered, pulling her scarf tighter around her neck. A sudden rustle behind her made her freeze. Only the wind, or so she told herself. The brook gurgled quietly, but there was something off about its sound today. A shadow flickered between the trees, too fast to be a bird. Her heartbeat quickened as she stepped closer to the water's edge. The reflection in the brook shifted unnaturally. Mara blinked, thinking it was a trick of the light. Then she saw it, something pale, tangled in the reeds. Her stomach turned cold. It moved, slowly, deliberately. A hand, or something like a hand, emerged from the water. Mara stumbled backward, her breath catching. The wind died suddenly, leaving the world silent except for the faint, wet splash in the brook. She could not look away. The thing in the water tilted its head. Its eyes, or empty sockets, fixed on her. A scream rose in her throat, but she could not release it. The brook, so peaceful a moment ago, now seemed alive with menace. Something dark brushed against her ankle. She kicked violently, heart hammering, and turned to run. The reeds parted as if welcoming something else toward her. Mara ran without looking back, her boots slipping in the wet soil. The brook twisted beside her, glimmering silver in the fading light. Every fallen leaf seemed to crunch with exaggerated sound beneath her feet. The forest closed in, the trees arching like looming figures, their branches scratching the air above her head. Her breath came in sharp bursts, mist curling around her face in the cold air. She felt the presence behind her, a whispering that was not the wind. A low, gurgling sound followed her, rising and falling like some hidden animal in pain. Her pulse throbbed in her ears. The last sunlight flickered through the branches, turning the shadows long and distorted. Mara stumbled over a root, scraping her palms against the rough bark. Pain flared sharp, white-hot, but she forced herself upright. The whispers became murmurs, almost intelligible words, though she could not understand them. Something was in the forest, watching her every movement. Her legs moved on instinct alone, carrying her toward a narrow clearing where the brook widened. The water shimmered, unnaturally still now, reflecting the orange sky like molten metal. She slowed, chest heaving, and peered into the reflection. For a fleeting moment, she thought she saw a face in the water, hers, twisted in terror, yet not hers. A ripple passed through the reflection, distorting it. Mara stepped back instinctively, and her foot sank into a patch of thick, cold mud. A hand, human, pale, impossibly thin, shot up from the brook beside her. She screamed, yanking her foot free, and stumbled backward into a tree. The bark scraped her shoulder, leaving a line of stinging red. The thing in the water rose slowly, limbs jerking unnaturally. It was humanoid, but wrong, too elongated, too thin, with water dripping from ragged, finger-like nails. Its eyes, hollow and black, glowed faintly in the dim light. Mara's stomach lurched, bile rising in her throat. The whispers became a voice, low and gravelly, echoing in the clearing. "You should not have come." Her legs trembled violently, but she forced herself to back away. Branches snapped behind her, and she spun around. The forest seemed alive, every tree leaning closer, leaves scratching at her like claws. The brook churned suddenly, and more hands emerged, grasping blindly for her. Mara stumbled, caught between the water and the looming trees. Her chest burned from running. She tried to scream again, but only a strangled noise escaped. Something cold brushed her cheek, a hand, wet and clammy. She jerked backward, falling to the ground, mud soaking her clothes. The creature stepped fully out of the water now. Its movements were jerky, unnatural, but deliberate. The brook, once peaceful, now bubbled and hissed as if it were breathing. The air smelled of rotten iron, thick and clinging. Mara's vision blurred, but she forced herself to look at the thing in front of her. Its face was featureless save for the deep, dark hollows where eyes should have been. It tilted its head, watching her with an intelligence that chilled her soul. Her mind raced. She had to run, she had to escape. But every instinct screamed that the forest had changed. The trees, the brook, even the wind, they were all part of it now. She scrambled to her feet and darted toward a narrow path she thought she remembered. The ground beneath her seemed to shift, roots rising to trip her, mud sucking at her shoes. The creature followed, silently gliding over the wet leaves. Each step it took made no sound, yet the air seemed heavier where it moved. Mara's lungs burned, and her legs were shaking with exhaustion. A sharp cry ripped from her throat when a branch reached out like an arm and grabbed her scarf, pulling her backward. She wrenched free, tearing the fabric, and ran harder. The brook widened again, and she realized it curved back toward the center of the forest, trapping her in its unnatural loop. The whispers became a chorus, chanting in a language that felt ancient and wrong. Mara's mind spun, panic overtaking reason. She tripped over a hidden root, falling into the mud at the water's edge. The creature reached out its long, clawed fingers, and her heart froze. It knelt beside her, tilting her chin up with one wet, cold hand. Its hollow eyes bored into her, consuming her with their emptiness. For a moment, she felt herself slipping, her consciousness tugged toward the darkness within those eyes. A sudden, sharp wind tore through the clearing, scattering leaves in a frenzied whirlwind. The creature hissed, recoiling slightly, and the forest seemed to shift again. Mara seized the moment, scrambling backward into the mud, kicking water and debris into the thing's face. It let out a wet, choking noise and recoiled further into the brook. Her lungs burned as she climbed to her feet, mud dripping from her clothes. The whispers faded into angry gurgles as the creature sank back into the water. The forest was silent again, but the air felt charged, like something was watching from every shadow. Mara ran blindly, not daring to look back, not stopping until she burst out of the treeline. The autumn sun was gone, leaving the sky a bruised gray. The path ahead was empty, but the echoes of the brook's unnatural gurgling haunted her steps. She did not know if the creature still followed, only that Willow Brook had changed. It was no longer a place of calm water and golden leaves. It was a place alive, waiting. And she knew, deep down, that one day, it would not let her leave again. Mara slowed, panting, as the forest thinned at the edge of a small hill. The brook glimmered faintly below, calm now, reflecting the pale light of the rising moon. Her boots squelched in the wet soil, and she sank to her knees, exhausted and trembling. The wind whispered gently through the golden leaves, soft as a lullaby. For a moment, she thought it was over. The shadows no longer moved unnaturally. The whispers had vanished, leaving only the soft gurgle of the brook. Mara pressed her hands to her face, trying to steady her racing heart. She looked down at the water, half expecting the creature to rise again. But the surface was smooth, peaceful, as if nothing had happened. A single leaf drifted onto the water, spinning slowly in a small circle. She let out a shuddering breath, feeling the tension drain from her shoulders. The forest felt larger now, familiar yet distant, like a memory half remembered. Mara rose to her feet and began to walk slowly down the hill. Every step was careful, measured, as if the earth itself might betray her. The moonlight painted the brook in silver, guiding her path toward the village beyond the trees. Her ears strained, listening for any hint of movement behind her. Nothing came. When she finally reached the edge of the woods, she paused, glancing back. The shadows seemed ordinary again, and the golden leaves shimmered in the moonlight. She stepped forward, leaving the forest behind, feeling the tension lift but knowing the memory would never fade. Even as she walked into the quiet safety of the village, the whispers lingered in her mind. Willow Brook was still there, tranquil on the surface, yet hiding something ancient beneath. Something patient, something waiting, and Mara knew, deep down, that she would never return, but the forest would always remember her presence. The autumn wind blew gently through her hair, carrying the faint scent of wet leaves and water. Mara turned toward the warm lights of her home, and the forest receded behind her. For tonight, she was safe. But Willow Brook waited, silent and eternal, beneath the golden autumn leaves.